All right. Karibu sana, good morning. You're welcome to this morning edition of Morning Cafe. My name is Fred Indemuli. Today being the 4th of March, 2025.
You know, yesterday we didn't say Happy New Month, so Happy New Month. Once again, it's never too late.
A bit too late to that.
My name is Odinga. Karibu sana. Thank you so much for choosing us yet again.
All right. A quick look at the dailies today, and I can tell you there's no too much agreement on what is a big story this morning. How lawyers are milking counties dry, that's a big one on the People Daily.
And the Star revealed major cover-up in fake papers inquiry.
Chunga ulimi, gazeti la Taifa Leo.
Daily Nation, 124 billion shillings wheat imports sink farmers into losses.
Totally different kind of story. Ruto double speak is a big story on the Standard.
And the Business Daily, US AID contract grant cuts in Kenya now hit 108 billion Kenyan shillings. So
what exactly is the biggest story today? That's a question. We'll be coming back to take a look because at least there is some agreement. We can see the former deputy president featuring on at least two of the front pages. The only other person that I can see featuring on the front pages, Raila has disappeared from the front pages today. At least President William Ruto is on only one daily. Yeah. So we'll be back to take a look at that and a lot more later on. Sasa to move tuangazie magazeti ya before we do that, State of the Nation coming your way at 6:30 this morning. James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, Daniel Manduku, MP Nyaribari Masaba, and Basil Robert Ngui, MP Yata, will be in studio for State of the Nation. A quick look at the dailies.
Later on, we'll be talking matters safeguarding women's rights. It's International Women's Day on the 8th of this month. We'll be having this conversation with Gloria Madegwa, Head of Programs and Defenders Coalition, as well as Faith Goko, Executive Director, Healing Hearts.
All right. Do stand by for that later in the program. Let's take a look at the regional papers, and we start off in Uganda. We do have the New Vision with us. Police probe witchcraft in churches. There's a headline in Uganda. Imefika hapa. Ndugu zetu jirani wamefika wakapeleka uchawi kanisani. Pastors by day, witch doctors by night. The story is on page 3. Only in Uganda. You can never see this in Kenya.
Now kuna elections.
Elections are next year. Yes.
Still.
This year in Tanzania. Earphones are killing ears, experts say, is another story featured there on the front page of the New Vision. But the main story, police probe witchcraft in churches. So how do even police do that? How can police determine that this is witchcraft inside a church? Imetuchanganya, New Vision. We also have the Daily Monitor.
And so it begins. Let's see. Now the brutality unleashed on National Unity Platform supporters in the capital Kampala yesterday ahead of a campaign rally for Kawempe North, that is the parliamentary seat by-election, could signal the beginning of a violent season as the country prepares for the 2026 general elections. And so it begins, they say. The campaign, which started on March 1st, will run until March 11, with elections on March 13. Now, the Electoral Commission nominated 10 candidates to contest for the seat. And we see here a cocktail of security forces beating up National Unity Platform supporters near the party headquarters at Makerere Kavule in Kampala yesterday. And the supporters had gathered for a procession to a campaign rally for areas Lui Mtazi na Lukola, the party's flag bearer in the Kawempe North by-election set for March 13. And that's the Daily Monitor. On the top strip, we see fate of 4,000 Kari Mojong jailed by military hangs in the balance. And this newspaper has established that thousands of Kari Mojong youths arrested for alleged crimes of murder, possession, and possession of illegal firearms, and cattle rustling are being held in various prisons across Uganda. And that's the Daily Monitor.
All right, to cross over into Tanzania, we do have The Citizen. Tanzania backs a regional trend as FDI inflows soar. Foreign direct investment inflows into Tanzania soared by 14.7% to $1.65 billion in 2023, up from 1.44 billion the previous year, in contrast to other countries in the region, which either recorded a decline or stagnation in FDI. So they say to maintain healthy and sustained FDI growth, Tanzania must create a balanced, stable and attractive environment for investors while continuing to diversify its sectors. 82.4% is the percentage of 2023 foreign direct investment inflows attributed to the manufacturing, finance, insurance and information and communication sectors. Now this, if you look at it in contrast with what is happening in Kenya, Tanzania is definitely doing much better. Kenya, over the past 1 or 2 years, has been experiencing a regime of high taxation, meaning that many people who may want to invest in Kenya have stayed away. Yeah. And even those who had already invested in Kenya, some of them pulled out and took their companies and other entities to Tanzania. So yes, Tanzania may have benefited from some of the things that have been happening in Kenya. Clearing agents blame new system for delays. TRA response is another story there on the front page of the Citizen. And what launch of accreditation board for journalists means. So the launch is in keeping with the Media Services Act of 2015. This is the equivalent of the Media Council in Kenya, which accredits all journalists. So wao wamechelewa sana. Sisi tulikuwa na miaka kama 10 hivi iliyopita.
And you know, I saw that and I was wondering, hawana?
Now is when they're talking about it. Hey, jirani mmechelewa.
That's why they're being threatened.
Government calls for prudence in staff transfers. Right, and Prime Minister touts digital payment systems. Did you know they have a Prime Minister? Or even the Vice President? You never get to know them. In Kenya, kila mtu anajua huyo Deputy President, hata akue wapi, hata ule alifutwa anajulikana. Yes. That's a Citizen.
Gazeti la Mwananchi wanasema kwamba mizengwe kazini inavunja familia. Wanasema kwamba kutopandishwa madaraja, mizengwe ya uhamisho na kukaemo muda mrefu vyatajwa kuathiri ndoa na malezi. Simba Chawene aonya ubabe urasimu wa viongozi.
So mizengwe ni nini? Mizengwe.
Jirani, please.
Kama mulitaka kusoma gazeti peke yenu sawa. Lakini wasema kutopandishwa madaraja, hiyo ni kama kusema lack of promotion. Okay. Sapo mizengwe ndio umetupoteza. Uhamisho ni transfers.
Mizengwe ya uhamisho.
Na kukaimu muda mrefu. Ile acting. Acting in one position for too long. Zinatajwa kama kuathiri ndoa na malezi. Now, you see the connection, acting being in an acting capacity for so long, it's affecting your marriage. Lack of promotion I would understand. Now mizengwe hatujajua. Jirani tusaidie hapo.
Alright. Nafuu watumiaji gesi vituo vikiongezeka. I remember last week they did something about these gases, wakapunguza bei, wakabana the use of charcoal. So wanasema kwamba shilingi ya Tanzania 1,100 alright. Sorry. Shilingi ya Tanzania 1,550 ni bei ya kilo moja ya gesi kwenye magari ambavyo inaweza kutumika kwa umbali mara 2 na unaotumika ukitumia mafuta. Alright.
Kuna jamaa mmoja hapo anatueleza ati mizengwe ni gossip. Lakini sijui kama kweli, sijui inaweza kuwa.
Ni Mluya, sasa tunaweza take
Kiswahili.
We will take that.
Wanaelewa Kiswahili.
Yes.
Gazeti la Mwananchi. Tunasalia kule Bongo, tunasonga mbele kidogo Zanzibar. Naitwaje, the island of Zanzibar. Kuna gazeti za Zanzibar leo wanauza tu 1,000 shilingi, 1,000 shilingi za Tanzania. Ni siku 3 ya Ramadhan. Hapa wanasema Daktari Mpango anasema Watanzania tukemee vitendo vya ukatili. Ni habari kuu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili kule Zanzibar.
Gazeti la Jamhuri hapa bado ni Tanzania. Wasira atoboa siri. Wasira atoboa siri. Asema Chadema walionyesha ubinafsi bila kujali masilahi ya Watanzania wote. Walitaka wao na Chama cha Mapinduzi pekee washirikiane kuandika katiba mpya. Asema no reforms, no election ni ndoto na kinyume cha katiba, sheria za nchi.
Na pale chini kiongozi wa chama cha Chadema, mwenyekiti anaitwa Tundu Lissu, anasema bila mabadiliko hakuna uchaguzi, no reform, no elections. Ndio kauli ya chama cha Chadema. Walisema by the way Elections are coming up in October, but if there are no constitutional reforms, atayo tusahau. So these are just some of the regional papers. At least we focused a bit more on the local ones, especially in Tanzania. Now we'll be back to take a look at these local ones in depth in a short while. But before that, let's take a look at the weather situation. Remember, it's been a very warm week. And we start off here in Narok. We see, if at all, Narok is usually very chilly, and it's 15 degrees Celsius as we speak, but you can see it is still sunny throughout the day, highs of 27 degrees. Remember, this week, we're just expecting warm temperatures, but from Saturday, Sunday, and into next week, we do expect some showers. So yes, there's still hope, and that trend still continues. But for now, clear skies.
Kakamega, it's 14 degrees as at now. It feels like it. Highs of 32 degrees expected. That is very, very hot. Sunny throughout the day, very little cloud cover. Hapa kuna tambua.
Yeah, but next week, from Sunday, Monday, you can see there will be some rainfall. So ndio, hata kama kumekauka aje, next week there's still hope. Yeah. But clear skies this week. Let's take a look at Mandera. Mandera, it's 27 degrees Celsius as we speak. Clear skies with periodic clouds, but you can see the kind of sunshine we expect there. Highs of 38 degrees. Yes, Ukwata next week, there's no hope for rain. Yeah, it's actually going to go higher. Next week, they're going to experience highs of 39 degrees Celsius. So Mandera, it's totally different. Yeah. What about Malindi?
Malindi, it's 27 degrees. It feels like 30, very hot as well. Highs of 31 degrees expected, but it's promising to rain on Sunday with thunderstorms.
Actually, some showers expected on Thursday, but as from Sunday, thunderstorms. So yes, ata Malindi, mambo ni namna hiyo.
Let's see, Nairobi. It's 17 degrees in Nairobi, highs of 28 degrees expected. It's comfortable weather today at Asai. It feels quite nice, not so cold. Sunny throughout, cloud cover kidogo sana. Mvua showers expected starting Sunday.
Right, so the trend continues that we're going to experience a warm week across the country, but do expect some showers in some areas starting next week and some thunderstorms as well. That's as far as the weather situation is concerned. Finally, let's take a look at the traffic situation in Nairobi this Tuesday morning, and areas around Gikomba Market, Haile Selassie Avenue. Well, it's building up. You can actually see that's the busiest road we have here. Ninaambiwa nionyeshe watu teknolojia, lakini teknolojia pia huwa inachelewa na sijui kama tuna masaa yetu, tuna dakika chache hapa. Bas. Tukiangazia wewe wacha maneno kama hiyo. This is the area I'm talking about. Coming from Jogoo Road into Landis Road, ile barabara iko na karibu na Muthuru au Machakos bus station. It's building up towards town. Once you get to Haile Selassie Avenue, it's busy on both sides of the road. So this is the busiest area right now this morning. Other areas that we can see is here around Makadara on Jogoo Road. There's a long stretch of red. So do expect there are areas around Makadara as you head closer to Mbotela and next to wanaitwaje hapa, City Stadium roundabout. The other tributaries into town are looking good. Of course, pale juu ni kidogo tu hapa Pangani interchange, it's building up slowly. There's a bit of trouble here on the Utalii Drift along Thika Road. I don't know what's happening there. If it continues building up, inamaanisha kutakuwa na shida. But kama hiyo inaendelea for now, guys using Thika Road, if at all they experience a problem there at the Utalii Drift, it means it is better for guys coming from Kiambu Road. Yeah. Yes. That's the traffic situation.
Something small here, very, very small though. On
Parklands Road, kule Westlands, yes, kuna roundabout pale. Kuna maeneo ya Westlands, kidogo tu pale uko ndani. Si hizo barabara sizielewi sana. But that's the traffic situation as at 10 minutes past the hour. We'll be back to take a look at this and a lot more later on.
All right, let's take a look at the quote of the day.
You were not created to blend in, but to stand out. The unique challenges you face are the very things that will prepare you to achieve something extraordinary.
right, Leo Magazetini, Kenyan papers, a cocktail of headlines today. Not much agreement. And we start off with a Star. Revealed major cover-up in fake papers inquiry. Connected people, politicians, relatives survive purge. The story is on pages 4 and 5 of this paper. Let's just take a look at what they're talking about. There's a major cover-up. Hundreds of civil servants who landed their jobs fraudulently continue to receive pay from government coffers despite being unmasked for using fake certificates. In a major cover-up, most of those who have survived the purge are highly connected people and relatives of politicians. Parliament, one of Kenya's best-paying institutions, is among the most affected, with the Parliamentary Service Commission unable to fire hundreds of staff found to lack requisite qualifications. So what next? They've probed, they found people have done this, alafu imeishia hapo. Raw deal, billions down the drain in stalled county projects is another story given prominence on the front page. And you can see that it's not even a pie chart, but they're just giving details there. I think in Kakamega, 7.24 billion worth of county projects have stalled. And they've given different amounts for some of the counties. Uasin Gishu, 1.76 billion, Machakos, 1.13 billion. And those are just some of the biggest amounts. Probably let's take a look at what's happening there, because it appears to be a very strong indictment. Devolution was hyped as a game changer, but Kenyans could be getting the short end of the stick after revelations that hundreds of projects valued at billions have stalled in counties. This is a new report by the Auditor General. And it says that nearly every county has white elephant projects sinking billions of taxpayers' money. For some completed projects, the work is poorly done. Ceilings peeling off and roofs leaking only days or months after completion. So, pesa imetembea. Wow, that's a Star. The other story on the front page, as we continue marking 50 years since the death of J.M. Kariuki. Say J.M. foretold his death, says widow. That story is on page 2. Pale juu, Nicholas Okumu, asema the Kagame doctrine redefining leadership. Remember, today being Tuesday, this paper is not for sale. It is a free copy that comes with a complimentary pullout of MyGov for government tenders, jobs, and opportunities. You can grab yourself a copy of this paper that's fresh, independent, and different. That's a Star.
All right, straight into business. Tumeingia biashara haraka. US aid contract grant cuts in Kenya now hits 108 billion Kenyan shillings. They say the value of big ticket contracts terminated by the US government in Kenya has crossed the 108 billion shillings mark, even as President Donald Trump's government issue more closure notices vowing to cut back on foreign aid. Now, new disclosures show that 8 US aid contracts and grants worth a combined 108.3 billion shillings have now been terminated in Kenya, putting pressure on thousands of beneficiaries as a 90-day review of aid support programs nears a halfway mark.
Hiyo tutasikia uchungu. You know, the government, and I had the CS, the Prime CS who's in charge of foreign affairs, saying no, tumeweka mikakati, hii hatutasikia. This one we will definitely we will definitely feel.
Unaona wale, I think, I've forgotten the number, but a very, very huge chunk of people have lost their jobs already. Wanasema hapa that 90-day review of aid support programs in a near halfway mark. 1 billion shillings buyout offer pause Procter and Allen receivership. And that story is of businessman Ngugi Kiuna. Troubled cereals manufacturer Procter and Allen is pegging its hope on an unnamed buyer who is reportedly willing to pump in 10 million shillings or dollar shillings. That is about 1.2 billion shillings to revive the company and repay debt owed to KCB Bank Kenya. On the ticker, shilling rallies to 6-month high on CBK intervention. KRA waives 140 billion shillings under tax amnesty. Yego breaks ranks with Uber on a borders fee. And unit trust defy interest rates drop to hit 389 billion shillings in assets. And that's the business daily.
We move on from matters business and we focus on the Daily Nation this morning. Different headline altogether. 124 billion Kenya shilling wheat imports sink farmers into losses. That's a big headline. And they say Local wheat growers have been hung to dry after the government allowed a group of millers to spend at least 124.5 billion shillings to ship in over 3.2 million tons of the same product farmers harvested in plenty. Farmers may be forced to sell their grain at a loss to avoid losing their entire harvest, with senators now probing how and why the farms were given the nod to import. Now, this story is on page 4 and 5, and it is very sad that at a time when farmers are complaining and they're working hard to produce, then the government says, okay, fine, we're allowing millers to actually import the same product from outside at cheaper prices. So what happens to the Kenyan farmer? Unapeleka wapi mahindi ama ngano ile ulivuna? And they give the list of companies that were allowed, companies that were given the green light by the government to import wheat and their respective quantities, including Kitui Flour Mills, Joy Millers, Capwell Industries, and others. They're there on the front page of the Daily Nation. Some of the millers are owned by tycoons who have been in the industry for decades. In Kenya. Elsewhere, Ugandan minister, US tycoon, and Kenyan ties to 81 million shilling fake gold scam. Let me read this. The story is on page 2. But in October last year, a New York-based accountant, Brian Hill, was approached by lawyer Randolph Adler with a proposal to invest in a lucrative gold trading scheme that would see him partner with an individual touted as one of the biggest dealers in the world. 5 months later, Mr. Hill lost the equivalent of 81.8 million shillings, is running around in circles trying to recover his money, and is hoping that authorities will help him get justice. Lakini mimi namwambia kama ni gold, hiyo imeenda.
Hiyo imeenda.
Hiyo imeenda. Hiyo biashara ya dhahabu hapa Kenya, Uganda na kwingineko kama DRC, hiyo umegongwa. Gachagwa's plot to end UDA grip on Mount Kenya is another story given prominence there, but the main story is on page 7 of this. They say the former deputy president has rolled out a political scheme designed to create a siege mentality in the populous Mount Kenya region. Unajua hiyo maneno wanasema ati 42 against 1. That's a siege mentality. Pale juu, they're still following up on the story of this Briton who was killed in Kenya. Money trail in hand for suspects who killed Briton in Nairobi. On the back page, governors ban millions on rented homes against the law. So governors actually renting houses. 12 years into devolution, 11 county governments continue to spend millions of shillings on rent for governors and deputy governors' residences, despite clear directives from the SRC to prioritize constructing official homes. What I know about this is that some county governments had already started building this, but then the governor who was there then lost elections. So the new governor comes in and says, hii nyumba inakaaje? Wachana hiyo, lipia mimi rent. So now they're spending a lot. And they've done something good because they've actually listed 11 governors who are spending millions of money renting out houses in Kericho, Kwale, Tana River, Lamu, Embu, Turkana, Bomet, Samburu, Nandi, Baringo, and Vihiga. I had a story once about a governor who, no, not even governor, a speaker of a county whose rent was being paid in Nairobi, yet he was speaker of a different county.
Oh, wow.
Yes, to the tune of about 250 million shillings a month.
Taxpayers' money.
Taxpayer money, 250,000 shillings a month. All right, that's the Daily Nation.
Taifa Leo wanasema chunga ulimi. Nani anamwambia chunge ulimi? Tume ya Kitaifa ya Uwiano na Utangamano, that is NCIC, yaonya aliyekuwa naibu rais Rigathi Gachagua kwa kile inachosema ni matamshi ya kiholela ambayo yanalenga kuchochea umma na hivyo kuhatarisha amani nchini. Na onyo la Gachagua kwamba jaji mkuu aking'atuliwa, Rais Ruto asidhubutu kwenda Meru sasa lamchongea. Wanasema kwamba although there is freedom of speech, that is incitement from former DP Rigathi Gachagua. Chama cha ODM sasa chatetea bima ya SHIF licha ya kukabiliwa na utata. This is quite interesting sababu even the party leader, that is Raila Odinga, says SHIF is not working, work on SHIF. You know?
There's a lot of confusion in that party now because now this is the party chairman, Gladys Wanga, akitetea SHIF. Na party leader amesema kuna shida inafaa kushughulikiwa. What exactly is ODM doing? Everyone has admitted there's a problem with this authority and this scheme. So unakuja kama chairman unasema ni mzuri.
All right. Tupe nafasi tuombeleze familia ya Wafula Chebukati yasihi wa Kenya kuipa fursa izike mpendwa wao kwa amani. He'll be buried this Saturday. Yeah. Mbeyu hampi amani Mung'aro. Mbunge huyo wa kaunti hapa kutolala hadi amng'atue uongozini gavana Mung'aro. Digri feki wakuu pabaya wakuu Northwestern University washtakiwa kwa kuendesha chuo kikuu bila kibali. Quite interesting. Kule juu sakata ya mawakili na machifu kupora watu mali ya fichuka. Anasema kwamba uchunguzi wa LSK na DCI waonyesha kuwa walaghai hao utapeli watu wasio na ufahamu, mali na pesa. Sakata ya mawakili na machifu kupora watu mali.
Kuna habari moja hapa, kidokeo zaidi cha spoti. Wanasema huyu Amorim amezidiwa Man United. Unajua timu wanajiita timu kubwa hawa. Acha niwaambie vile kunaenda. Mrithi huyu wa Ten Hag ni kichapo tu baada ya kichapo. Sio mimi nimesema iko hapa. Kwa haya na mengine ukurasa wa 13 hadi 20, lakini kwa wapenda kandanda na wale wanaoshabikia timu ya Manchester United ni kichapo tu baada ya kichapo. Wewe ongea tu Kiswahili hapo, mizengwe kazini.
You'll be alone.
On the People Daily, how lawyers are milking counties dry. And this is matters public finance. And this is a very interesting story because a number of lawyers are owed up to upwards of 6 billion shillings, you can imagine, by counties.
Yeah.
Counties that already have officers, legal officers employed as employees, but then they go and hire private lawyers, and now they owe them a lot of money.
Yeah.
About 3 companies, 3 law firms are owed to the tune of 3 billion shillings. This is how lawyers get rich. Unaenda unapata lawyer unashanga, ai na wewe, kwani unafanya kazi gani? Ni counties. Eh?
Yeah.
All right. Sudan opens new war front with Kenya. That story continues with that controversial debate on RSF signing a charter with other groups to form a parallel government in Nairobi. They still continue with matters environment and the marking of Wangari Maathai Day. Pages 6 and 7 dedicated to this, and the story there is Tree Hugger who rattled the mighty. Still talking about Nobel laureate Wangari Maathai, and more stories on that. Kalonzo says, I do not need anyone's endorsement. Hata ngoja kuambiwa Kalonzo tosha.
Amesema
yeye mwenyewe ametosha. Na pale chini matters Oscars, Amora is the biggest winner at the Oscars 2025. For those of you who are fans of Hollywood and other movies, that's the latest. That's the People Daily.
The Standard, Ruto doublespeak. Now, Pulpit politics, President Ruto's stance on public fundraising has taken a curious turn. Months after banning harambes for state officers, he now leads multi-million shilling church donations, having recently pledged 120 million shillings to a city church. And as criticism mounts, his defiance grows, insisting his contributions are a divine duty. He's quoted here on July 5th, 2024, saying, all non-essential travel by state and public officers is hereby suspended, and no state officer and public servant shall participate in public contributions or harambes henceforth. And on November 24th, 2024, he's quoted saying, whenever we give, we do so to God. I have been trying to find where it is written in the Bible, because I am an ardent reader that when you give to God, it is returned by the bishops.
And you realize the first quote you read, July 5th, 2024, was exactly 10 days after the June 25 events with the Gen Z revolution.
Yeah.
Now, pressure ilikuwa hapo. Sahii ni kama wamesahau hiyo. Pressure iko wapi? Ehe.
On Sunday alipeana mchango mahali yenye ilikasirisha sana wa Kenya, and he said he is a product of giving back to God. So, yeah. On the top strip of this newspaper, journalist murder cover-up exposes legacy of silence. This story is on page 8 and 9. And they say 16 years on, journalist murder cover-up. They say the family contends that suppressed evidence, witnessed intimidation and shielding of suspects has denied them justice. All right. And they say the state failed to protect Nyaruri's life and subjected him to torture prohibited under the Convention Against Torture and other international human rights instruments Kenya has signed.
Yes, and they talk about the story of Francis Nyaruri, who was killed in 2009. He was an investigative journalist who wrote under the pseudonym Mongare Mukua for the Weekly Citizen paper.
Other stories there too, suspended in city farm garbage row. Hiyo ni ile mambo ya kumwaga takataka kwa wenyewe last week.
All right. On the back page of the Standard, matters sports, Champions League. Champions League offers Arsenal chance to salvage season because Arsenal is playing tonight. They will be traveling to PSV Eindhoven. That game is at 11 p.m. Also, other big games tonight, Real Madrid will be hosting Atletico Madrid and Borussia Dortmund will be playing Lille. All games at 11 p.m. The earlier game is Club Brugge, which will be hosting Aston Villa at 8:45 p.m. So for lovers of Champions League action, something to look forward to tonight. All right. And that's the Standard. Ni kama tumemalizia magazeti, tuangazie karakacha sasa. And we start off with the Daily Nation. Matters church donations. So kuna pale jamaa kwa Pulpit, kuna watu wawili. Kuna huyu amevaa suti na ameshikilia Biblia na anasema keep coming, leta hiyo pesa. Na kuna jamaa hapa anabeba pesa na wheelbarrow, anaambiwa kuja. But pale nyuma there's another bishop. He's in purple, so this is a bishop. This is a caricature of Archbishop of the Anglican Church of Kenya. Bwana Stapit anashangaa sasa hii mambo inaendeleaje. Because you remember they said they're not going to accept donations from politicians going forward, but it would appear other churches don't mind. Let your pesa keep coming. That's the Daily Nation.
This is the Star. We see this is politics play here. Last 2022, the last election, we see a caricature there of PLP's party leader Martha Karua and ODM party leader, former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, while they were contesting for the 2022 elections, and a caricature there as well of President William Ruto and a former DP Rigathi Gachagua. And now tables have turned. Kila mtu.
The deputies have gone one side, and the presidential candidates have gone the other.
Yes.
How things change. In very short 2 years, the deputy presidents, the running mates have grouped, and the presidential candidates on the other side. That's a Standard. And that's the only cartoon we had. I thought we had the People Daily, but yes, I think it's there on the screen.
I am in total darkness. Tunaona mama na mtoto, and it says inside Ruto's affordable housing project.
So mambo ni giza totoro. I mean, total darkness. Yeah. Speaks to the fact that wengi hawaelewi what's happening with affordable houses. Despite the levy and the deductions having happened for close to 1 year, there's still not much clarity. And yesterday they were talking about the issue of land and whether or not the land, you could actually get a title deed, because they say even the land where these affordable houses are being built on, they don't have title deeds.
Yes.
So what happens?
All right, interact with us on our social media platforms, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube, TV47 News KE on X. My handle is at @Ann_Dida. The hashtag is Morning Cafe. All
right, after the break, we'll be having Basil Robert Tungui, MP Yata constituency, with us, Daniel Manduku, MP Nyaribari Masaba, and James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North, for the discussions this morning. You don't want to miss that. Do stand by for that. My name is Fred Indemuli. My Twitter handle, is it Twitter?
Yes,
X handle.
Potato Potato.
Is at Fred Indemuli.
is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora.
All right, welcome back and good morning once again. My name is Freddie Ndimuli. Time for us to take a look at the headlines this morning. Varied as they come, no two headlines today in any of the dailies agree. Different stories on all our front pages. On the Star, revealed major cover-up in fake papers inquiry. Matters Business, USAID contract grants, cats in Kenya now hit 108 billion shillings. Ruto doublespeak is a big headline on the front page of the Standard. And on the Daily Nation, 124 billion shilling wheat imports sink farmers into losses. Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. On my immediate right, Daniel Manduku, MP Nyaribari Masaba. It's good to have you in studio.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. Basil Robert Ngui, MP Yatta, is with us this morning. Karibu sana.
Thank you and good morning.
And James Gakuya, MP Embakasi North is also with us. Good morning, Bwana Gakuya.
Good morning, Chief. Thank you.
I'd like to draw your attention to the headline on the front page of the Standard, major cover-up in fake papers inquiry. And they say connected people, politicians and relatives have survived the purge. Take it to page 4 and 5 of this paper. Hundreds of civil servants who landed their jobs fraudulently continue to receive pay from government coffers despite being unmasked for using fake certificates. Parliament, one of Kenya's best-paying institutions, is among the most affected, with the Parliamentary Service Commission unable to fire hundreds of staff found to lack requisite qualifications. Last year, this paper exclusively reported how the Commission had unearthed a massive academic scam following a review it initiated, and this is inside Parliament. In the audit, Parliament verified the authenticity of KCPE, KCSE, diploma, degree, and master's certificates held by its staff. At least 200 employees, including directors and deputy directors, a few years to retirement, were implicated in the forgery of academic papers. We start from there. This week we've just seen the DCI arrests 2 people who were actually presiding over a graduation event in Mombasa. This issue about fake degrees, fake certificates, is something that has permeated the society for a while. And it doesn't seem to go away, despite even probes that have actually found people culpable of this. Does it mean that when it comes to checking this, nothing will ever happen? Nobody will be ever held to account?
Fred, thank you, and morning viewers. Let me start by saying that, they always say that the fish rots from the head. I think we're in this situation because our leadership has condoned this practice for so long. It doesn't help that we know even our governors, some of our governors have fake academic papers. And you see them with the president every day. What is the president doing with people he knows very well have fake academic papers? And that is where it starts. So I think we should start from the top. Let us look at the people who are leading the various arms of government, including our governors, and bring them to book first before you go for the small fish. Mm-hmm. I'm one of the people who believe that, yes, we are not all equal, but we should never condone the practice of fake academic papers. In any case, there are avenues of acquiring genuine papers by going to evening classes. You can do courses that can upgrade your credentials. And so we should never be a country that allows this practice to thrive. Mm-hmm. We can't say that the DCI or the Public Service Commission is the only recourse. I think it starts from us as people. This is a bad practice. And if we don't condone it, and if we don't condemn it, then we are showing our children that you can get away with anything. Okay. I'm asking the president here today. He knows the governors who have fake papers. And if he wants, I can give him a list. Let him start with those.
Even before we get to the governors, they're talking about Parliament here. Parliamentary Service Commission conducted a probe on its own stuff and found that quite a number had actually gotten the jobs that they currently have inside Parliament through fake papers, and they're still working today. What does that say about even Parliamentary Service, which is your employer in Parliament?
Thank you, Edie. I think also, I agree with my brother, what he has just said. If you look at the Parliamentary Service Commission, they say you send a thief to catch a thief. So you may find even the guys who are sent to do the probe, also they are fake papers. So if they have fake papers, you don't expect them to crucify their fellow team members with the same fake papers. So in reality, I think we need to have an overhaul of our entire system and have scrutiny. If you look at NEC, before, I think back in the 90s, 80s, they were credible. You knew for sure the marks you get from NEC, those are your genuine marks. And if you go to the universities, back in those days, you find the kind of learning and the way they used to award degrees was a bit credible. But now, with our current system, like for example, if you look at remuneration for the dons and people who are supposed to ensure we restore order in education. They are not well remunerated, so they have lost even hope. And that is where the whole problem starts to emanate. Because you find, if you talk of commissioner of higher education, most of these people, because of corruption, now if you look at the level of taxation, those with the pay slip, there's nothing they're getting. So as a result, these guys want to make an extra coin. And that is what has motivated even those who have been bestowed with responsibility to ensure there is order and there is credibility in academics, have been compromised because they need to make an extra money. So if you talk of now NEC, the other day I even went to the PS where one of my nephews was awarded marks which he thought was not his. And to make matters worse, he was assigned as a female when he's a boy. So when I went to the PS was a bit mesmerized. And when he realized I was about to go and make a statement in Parliament, he changed the name and the marks were actually upgraded.
The PS did that?
Yes, from 200 and something, the boy was given almost 400.
Based on what?
That is the question we ask him. I have evidence.
Right.
I went to his office. This is to tell you, assume now I was not someone who was in position of authority or political influence. The boy maybe would have continued being maybe...
A female.
Yeah, being a female and awarded marks which are not his. Because I told him, look, this is how he has been performing. Since...
And the PS just changed the marks?
I was called. I tried to call. I went to the commission of the NEC. I went to see the CEO. The CEO tried to play games. So when I went to see the PS called the CEO. And within 1 hour, the same CEO was running away, called me. And he told me, I've sent you, check your WhatsApp. When I looked at WhatsApp, I saw...
That's a very serious...
The name has been changed. Now it's no longer a female, it's a male. And the marks were upgraded. So that is where we are. If you come to Parliament, I was telling...
That's the CEO of the Kenya National Examinations Council.
Yes.
NEC.
I have evidence. I even got shocked. I said, hey, anyway, we don't have a country. This is where we have got to. And that is going to affect even recruitment of our, Kenyan professionals within and outside the country.
All right.
Kenya used to be respected. There are days where there was influx of students from our neighborhood coming to study in Kenya. But now that trend, I think, is being reversed. Yeah.
Now, Bwana, we seem to have commercialized our entire education system, not just in terms of how expensive it is, but even in terms of qualifications and academic papers, as low as KCSE. And this is a serious revelation here by MP Robert Ngui, that even the Kenya National Examinations Council could be aiding this kind of issue. What does it mean for our education system going forward, where anyone with money can buy certificates and move on and get government jobs, senior government jobs at that?
Thank you, Edmore. Allow me to salute viewers wherever they are watching this morning show from. And coming to this serious concern, what I would say, a country starts getting out of the track by having this kind of scenario. Because if we adopt, and it's like we have already adopted these fake certificates, then it means that we have lost the control of the original certificates, and we are going to lock out those who successfully attained their certificates on merit. This particular trend, I think what is going to happen in the country is where then, and I want to agree with my colleagues that our credibility in education system, where a certificate, whether it is a Form 4, Form 6 of those holidays, current degrees and diplomas, were very well acceptable worldwide. But when we get into this trap, when even an institution like the National Assembly can still move on and keeps this kind of fake certificate employee, this is totally wrong. Because what we are doing is that we are protecting the wrongdoings It's like we are adopting and cementing them. Because I don't think that, in fact, nobody who has not attained a position on merit of qualification should be in that particular institution, whichever way. And that's the only way we can be able to root out any ill entry of such kind of certificates. Otherwise, when we keep them and we keep that stuff with us, then what we are doing is that we're encouraging that kind of a system where now we are saying it does not matter. As much as you pass the stage of interview, whether there is any, I don't know, then you qualify. And then therefore, the essence of those certificates is no longer going to have value. And that's what's going to happen. Because in fact, we believe that you achieve a position which has been advertised through one, qualifications. Number two, the physical interview. And then the essence of those certificates are going now to have no value at all. And Idimuri would just like to condemn completely in the highest order that we should not encourage. If we get information and clue of anybody who is in your institution, especially government institutions, that actually pass through, test through what we call a back window, then the best thing we need to do is to sack that person immediately.
All right. So the Public Service Commission is working on this, and they say that an audit is going on. The Public Service Commission has set June 30th this year as a deadline for state agencies to authenticate papers of all their staff. And this report to be tabled in Parliament. Now, this in Parliament, where the Public Service Commission, now the Parliamentary Service Commission, is totally unable to take charge and take action against the 200 members of staff or whatever number of members of staff that were found to have fake certificates. It's supposed to actually look at what the entire public service. Should we expect anything there? It looks like this is one of those issues where people engage in crime with no consequence.
Fred, you should distinguish between the Parliamentary Service Commission and Parliament as legally constituted. There's a distinction in that elected members of Parliament, to the best of my knowledge, are not under any probe on account of having fake or suspicious documentation. It is the employer. And to the best of my knowledge and recollection, I know that the Parliamentary Service Commission, on its own volition and in accordance with the circular from the Public Service Commission, conducted an audit. I also know that a few members of staff have voluntarily left the service. I think we should not preempt the outcome, because if Public Service Commission tables a report before Parliament, Parliament will be a neutral arbiter, because it is not linked, at least to the best of my knowledge, some of our members are not part and parcel of the probe. Never mind that as members of Parliament, we are not subject to this audit on fake papers.
Yes,
but the thing
some of these employees are those seconded to you,
but the
and some of them have been proposed.
What I can tell you,
jobs
as
by the members of Parliament.
Member of Nyaribari Masaba, I have staff who have been employed by Parliamentary Service Commission, and I can assure you that my staff don't have any fake documents. And so it is incumbent upon us as members to individually actually confirm whether our staff are complying with that circular.
Because it has been said that a lot of these staff who work in Parliament have been brought there by members of Parliament. Yes, because these are the staff who work alongside you on a day-to-day. Probably some of them are close to you. Some of them could even be relatives. For them to obtain some of these fake certificates, they may have been or received assistance from members of Parliament. How then is the same Parliament expected to actually preside over this kind of audit for the entire public service? That's the irony of it.
What, Fred, you are saying, there is some truth to it. But Of course, there are those genuine ones who made the applications and got recruited by PSC. But you can't ignore the possibility of politicians using that position of politics to influence the recruitment of some of the PSC members. And now, in such a case, now the complexity of the scrutiny, the audit, how to make sure the report is authentic, that is where the whole issue now starts to become complex. Because remember, if senior members, I'm talking of maybe chairs of certain committees, people with certain positions within parliament, assume some of these guys are members or they have some staff who they brought and who have been accused or who have been established to have fake papers. There's no way PSC will have that authenticity and autonomy to give credible results or report when it comes to such a thing. That's a reality. Because someone will say, you can't, this is my person. That is likely to be there. And that's why I say it's very complicated, considering that the whole issue started when corruption was allowed to even get to the academic system. That's where the problem started. Number two, when cost of living, you need, like now the new taxes we normally introduce. People, we never ask ourselves, what are the ripple effect of these new taxes? If you bring so many taxes and you are all targeting people with the pay slip, you make it very hard for these people to exist. Then they'll start becoming innovative. And that's where now graft sets in. So the whole matter is very complex. There's someone also who bribed to get this position. Now, how will you tell the same person who received his bribe now to fire the person? That can't be possible.
All right.
So let's not try to hide from the reality.
But it will appear parliamentary scrutiny on fake academic papers is actually an exercise in futility.
Yes, I've told you it's a very complex matter. There is no way, because as I've said, it's like a twinkle of many elements coming together. Remember, so there's someone perhaps who used someone to influence his recruitment, or someone used kickbacks, the graft to be able to get recruited. And also the person who is doing the same audit could also be possessing fake papers. So that's a serious irony.
Yes, and they say that, Bonagakuya, that most of those who survived the purge are highly connected people and relatives of politicians. It is a fact. So if Parliament, because that's where politicians reside, parliamentarians are actually involved in this, does it make sense for us to look to Parliament to actually conclude this audit on fake academic papers for the entire civil service? Is it feasible that Parliament is a body to do this?
One, Edimori, I want to denounce your statement that whether those who purports that in fact the employment of staffs in the parliament actually has a big influence from members, it may not be correct.
But
and I can start to say, I am a 3-term member, and I have not through back window made any single back the door employment. Does that not mean I does not highlight to my constituents when there are such interviews, because they are advertised. But anybody who is like through the normal chain of interviews and whatever gets an opportunity, that be it. But I have never used a penny or any influence to have a mandatory way of accessing those positions. And I wish our oath is very clear. But stating this does not mean that all members are equal. And there could be such members probably who might have used that route. But I would say it is totally isolated cases. Probably those members who deals with that catering committee who has probably directly involved in those processes. Or any other member who might use a phone call. But I can tell you, in fact, even the current clerk of the National Assembly is a very tough man. To accept those shortcuts is not very easy. And I would like to say it very clear. The Speaker whoever will be, I'm not even talking of the current, any CEO who is the speaker, who is the clerk, must make sure that the whole administration is serious enough and putting the right measures to make sure that people will comply. I don't start to say that, in fact, there should be persuasion, maybe to give some favors, but it should be extremely tough on that angle.
Do you therefore
and
agree?
I can tell you for sure, those isolated cases cannot make the defeat of such a report. If the majority are poor, aligning things and putting things in order, still the report will see the light of the day.
You feel confident enough that Parliament can conduct this audit properly?
Of course. It is a house, and it's a house of order. And I would like to stand here to say, sometimes it is meant to be long, but I can tell you it's not totally long. It's not totally out of order. Yes, because if it could be the case, then anything which could be coming from that Parliament could be always an anogy or a bad taste. But I don't think that is the correct position. The correct position is, as much as probably there are some cases like the purge of Gachagua and some others of the kind, but not that doesn't mean that order is not followed.
All right. Yeah. Major cover-up in fake academic papers probe, beginning in Parliament, where Parliamentary Service Commission staff members have been found to have fake academic certificates which they used to get those jobs, and nothing is happening to them. The Parliamentary Service Commission is totally unable to do anything. Meanwhile, the Public Service Commission has conducted an audit of the entire public service and found very many people do possess fake certificates that they used to obtain those jobs. That report is expected before Parliament. That's the irony of it. Will Parliament be able to actually offer any value to this conversation? Well, it is 7:02. I need advice on whether or not we take a break. All right, let's take a short break. We'll be back to continue the headlines.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47 with me, Fred Ndimuli. We continue looking at the big headlines today with MPs Basil Robert Ngui of Yatta, Daniel Manduku of Nyaribari Masaba, and James Gakuya of Embakasi North. Let's move on to the headline on the front page of the Standard. Ruto double speak. Pulpit politics. President Ruto's stance on public fundraising has taken a curious turn. Months after banning harambes for state officers, he now leads multi-million shilling church donations, having recently pledged 120 million shillings to a city church. As criticism mounts, his defiance grows, insisting his contributions are a divine duty. Now, 10 days after the young Kenyans, Gen Z, breached the precincts of Parliament, the president came out and said, actually suspended all non-essential travel for public officers, and in the same statement, banned harambes for public officers henceforth, including public servants participating in public contributions and harambes. Yet, a few months later, it's not even been a year, the president now is defending the same actions. He's the one leading this. He was at a church on Sunday here in Nairobi where he donated 20 million shillings, pledged another 100 million shillings, and even went ahead to give KDF land to that church. Do you agree with this headline that definitely this is a double speak from the president?
Fred, let me say here that it is always noble to make contributions. In fact, for those of us who believe in the Bible, you're supposed to contribute whatever little you can or whatever much you can. But when the president goes to one church and donates 20 million shillings and pledges another 100 million shillings, that is wrong. You know, my constituency alone has over 300 churches. What do my constituents think when the president goes to one church and gives 20 million? Leave that aside. Where does he get the money from?
It is said that he's wealthy.
He told us that we should now, as a government, focus on austerity measures. What the president is showing us is that austerity is just a word, it's just a vocabulary in the dictionary. He does not practice what he says, and that is wrong. Whatever you say. So does it mean that when he comes to my constituency tomorrow in Nyaribari Masaba, he'll give another 20 million? Does it mean when he goes to Yatta, he'll give 20 million? This kind of show-off is not good for this country. And let me tell you, in the Bible, there's a lady who gave a coin, and God said that he was more blessed than others. How I wish that we would donate in silence. In fact, the Bible says the left hand should never know what the right hand is doing. Why can't the president give his money silently? Why must he tell everyone that he's giving 20 million and pledging another 100 million?
All right.
He's setting a very, very bad precedent. It means when he goes to church, the bishops and the reverends will be expecting such big donations.
And it's not just the president. Members of parliament, yourselves were doing this a lot before the Gen Zs came out and complained. This was one of the things that the Gen Zs complained about, and they said they will go and police churches themselves to ensure that politicians do not misuse the pulpits. Yes, this is what led to the statement by the president. It would appear, and this changed the president's government tremendously since then. He was forced to fire his cabinet, the entire cabinet, because of that same revolution. Yet months later, he seems to be going back on all those things.
You know, from onset, allow me to say I respect the president so much, but unfortunately, you know, people are losing trust with him. I think all Kenyans have lost trust with our president. And the simple reason why this is happening is because he doesn't lead from the front. And his words don't seem to be supported by his actions. He wakes up and says, today, as your president, no more harambes, no more contributions, no more, you know, lavish lifestyles. And immediately leaves that stage, he starts practicing them. And this is what has meant many Kenyans feel agitated and feel like this gentleman, whatever he says, is a lie. Actually, his name is becoming synonymous to lies. And that's a very bad thing when you are the person entrusted with the authority to take the country to the next level. Now, if you come back to where the money, the source of the money, you know, if our budget in Kenya was itemized, trust me, Kenyans will just say maybe he's a philanthropist or he's a very generous man. But our budget is never itemized. We only lump money into different ministries. But as a taxpayer, you don't know what that money is supposed to do. For example, we would want to know, if you talk of 20 billion for roads, which roads are going to be either maintained or upgraded to bitumen standards with that 24 million? And Kenyans will know, if my money is taken through tax, what is that money going to do? And that will head these roadshow promises, saying, I'll construct a road from this point to this point to this point to this point. Those kind of promises will come to an end because people will ask you, yes, you have told you are going to do this. Where is it in the budget? But deliberately, the successive government have ensured that our budget is never itemized. And that is why the president is able to afford to say, I'm going to give 50 million. More used to do it when you were young kids. You used to come, and actually it was like a competition to have more in your school. Because the moment you come to your school, you say, today I'm going to ensure this, that is 30 million goes to your school, 40 million goes to this school, this amount of money goes to that school. And then you ask, where is this money coming from? It was because, since history of this country, our budget has never been itemized. Mm-hmm. And that is the main source of the problems we have. Any president, because if he doesn't donate, still he'll have the money and he'll do other things with the money. That's why you find now like campaigns is very expensive in Kenya because of the precedence that has been set. Mm-hmm. You can't just, call people or convene people in a forum and then you tell them your policies and then you tell them, hey, see you tomorrow. I expect your votes. The moment you convene people in any podium, they expect to leave with something. And that's a precedence that has been set by politicians because our budget is never itemized. Mm-hmm. So someone is able to steal the money. If you do this audit lifestyle, that's rubbish. People will come and tell you I'm worth 5 billion and they don't support with that. They give room so that in the future, if they have acquired that money, then they'll say, but I came and said I'm worth 5 billion. Mm-hmm. So look at what I have.
All right.
You see? So there is a lot of, I would say, stupidity and misuse of our resources, but, and a lot of lying which has been happening.
The question now is, what emboldens the president to come out so blatantly? Only months, it's been now many months, about 7-8 months after the Gen Z revolution. Part of the grievances of the Gen Z were that MPs and senior officers in government and those allied to the president were engaging in a show of opulence, especially in churches. The biggest amount then that one of the MPs had contributed to church was 20 million. The other figures were usually 2 million, 1 million shillings. The president comes out and the highest amount that the Gen Zs complained about, he goes and gives to one church. What emboldens the president to that point?
Idimoni, let me join my colleagues in this particular issue. And I want to be categorical that the president is on a campaign mode. And the president is out to do anything to convert people. Because remember, problem is the head of state is in crossroad with the churches. And the churches has been refunding or turning back the donations contributed by head of state and sometimes even the governor of Nairobi. And this was to him a very big hit or a big slap. If the head of state you have concentrated, you have seen him having serious meetings at his state house with these gospel churches. And he has taken that route to repopularize himself through the church again. And he must choose to contribute where he thinks he has no major revolt. And what he did in Wasambo at Moi's church, it's just a beginning. I'm sure that you find him on a trail. He was very categorical that he believes in contributing to God. But remember, even the Bible is very clear. When you want to contribute to God, the light arm should not even notify the left. So if you want to contribute, give something sealed to the church without announcing what. But by announcing, it means you are politicizing. You want it to be known so that the other churches can have that urge. Let me invite him here so that he can also make the same trend of such contribution. And I can tell you, because President has shown that he has enough money. It's only the Kenyans who are crying. And probably that was his wish, that the money he promised that will be in the pockets of the people, it's not felt. You know, we are saying that there is an indication that the economy is growing. But every single other Kenyan out there, including a farmer, including nobody, they are all making noise that this money is not felt. This economy is not felt. But it is true that, in fact, the president has also managed to assist few, very few, not many, to become billionaires. And we have known them. We have known them before, and we have known them today. And we know their capacity and their ability to be at where they are. They could not have gone that level. You can't be a member of parliament, a member who was at a value of probably 100 million in the last parliament, and today you are all the billions. It's not magic. And you cannot tell us you have done enough, more than what other men in this country could have done. And therefore, I would say it's wrong, and it's a long direction. And what the president will do, he may choose to go that trend, but I can tell you, at the end of the day, if Kenyans will decide to take you home, whether you bring the ivories, at the end they must make sure that they bury the elephant. They will take away the ivories, because ivories will never decompose, and the elephant finally will be buried.
All right.
So that will be the position. So don't use this money on that long direction. Take this money, we have a lot of hunger in the country. If we could have seen you distributing food to the needy at this particular time, we have many people who have suffered in Nairobi by fire, and nothing, including the governor, is even daring to know whether such people survives in this country or lives in this country. But you want to be seen walking to churches and contribute those huge of amount. Take this money where the needs is. And if that strength is taken to that direction, nobody would complain.
Yes. If it was a sincere case of charity, the president just a day before his contribution to that church was in Baringo, where they have serious issues with schools. And we have stories about schools not having roofs or even classrooms. 20 million, 120 million shillings could definitely have a proper consequence in that.
Obviously, we normally spend about less than 1 million shillings to build a very decent classroom in primary or secondary schools. And so a simple calculation will tell you that 120 million is about 120 plus decent classrooms. Obviously, that would have had a bigger impact, not just to society, but also to the economy, because then you do what we call distribution across. And so this is a case of, in my opinion, misplaced priorities. But again, let me say this, for the avoidance of doubt. The Bible says, the right hand should never know what the left hand is doing. Let us give our contributions to churches or to charity, but let us do it in silence. When you announce it, then you create what we call legitimate expectation from your other constituents, because this country is large. I told you, in my constituency, I have over 300 churches. Same with Yatta and other places. So a simple calculation will tell you that in this country, we have more than 100,000 churches. So when you give one church this amount of money, does it mean that the followers here have got higher chances of going to heaven than my followers? When you come to my constituency, how much will you come with? And more than that, there's always that question, where did this money come from? And that is a question that the president himself will answer. We don't know. Yes.
All right. And when it comes to the Gen Z revolution, the president appears to have forgotten the situation he was in. That one, plus he closed the door himself. He has reopened it. Does it therefore give members of parliament a leeway to return to churches and church pulpits going forward? Should we expect to see more politics in churches going forward?
Well, as I've said, he's the president of this country. And if he's not respecting, honoring what he said, very likely it means other politicians will fall suit. And that is going to completely wash away what Gen Zs were advocating for. And I don't know whether maybe, people are getting convinced that by having the broad-based government, having ODM or Raila on board, it's like you have calmed the Gen Zs. That is a very misplaced thinking and an assumption. Because in principle, it's like you're trying to cover a fire which is already burning. We don't know what will be the outcome or what the Gen Zs are planning, because they see how what they were saying should be dropped or should be stopped has been, rekindled again. And maybe that is happening because Raila is with the government, because of the broad-based government, as they call it. So it's unfortunate that we don't respect the wishes of the young people. Many of them lost their lives because they wanted to see a transformed country. Imagine what will ring to the minds of these young people, particularly those who are unemployed, who cannot afford to raise school fees, who can't meet the needs, the day-to-day needs. Yet they see the end of, say, donating 20 million, 100 million. Yes, it could be wealthy. But remember, you are the father of all churches in Kenya. In my constituency, I have 600 churches, to be precise. Actually, I have more churches than schools. 600 churches, and I have about 200 schools. So that tells you, and it's all over. If you talk of other constituencies, and all these churches want a similar donation.
Okay.
So when you know you're in a position of authority, you have to change your way of life.
All right.
Myself, I can't go and do the same because I'll be becoming biased, or I'll start be perceived as a very discriminative leader who does, in fact, or the interests of the other churches.
Right.
So it is high time for the president to be able to understand his end of state. And whatever action he does have very serious effect, particularly to the rest of the country.
Right. And talking about Gen Zs, there's definitely an ongoing scramble for the numbers of the youth vote in Kenya. It is one of the stories covered here on TV47, the scramble for the Gen Z numbers. Let's talk about that after we watch the story.
Some quarters may not appreciate the ripple effect of the chaotic that turned deadly scenes of June 25th, 2024, when the country's youth, popularly known as Gen Z generation, brought the country to a standstill in protest against proposed government tax hikes through the Finance Bill of 2024. That Tuesday, the country lost at least 13 young protesters, according to the Doctors Association, who were killed by the police for expressing their anger at how the government had treated citizens. Fast forward 3 years shy from the 2027 general election, and every political grouping does not conclude its meeting without mentioning the Gen Z.
Mimi nikiwa deputy president on the 26th of June niliita press conference Mombasa. Na nikatetea hao watoto nikasema they have a right to be heard. They are not criminals, they are our sons and daughters and they should be heard. Na hiyo ndio msimamo wangu. Mimi katika chama ambayo nimeunda, Gen Z watakuwa part of it.
Martha Karua spearheaded the rebranding of NARC Kenya that has been in existence for 16 years to the People Liberation Party. She admits the move was to woo the youth.
We felt we needed, one, a name that speaks to the people, that you don't have to ask, what does that mean? People and liberation need no explanation. So a name that speaks to you. We needed to renew and refresh ourselves after over 16 years of existence.
A section of the political class assert the president said during the anti-finance protest in 2024, the country's youthful generation have key role in the decision-making of the next government.
You cannot ignore Gen Zs. They are here, they are in existence. And as we speak, let us also remind the national government that it is time we constituted the IEBC, because the Gen Z needed to register and make their voice heard in the coming election.
Amid the scramble to onboard the support of Gen Z, some political quarters assert that there is nothing unique about them, dismissing their clamor for good governance as one that is out of touch with reality.
If you're over 18, go register as a voter. And there's nothing unique about their voice. One man, one vote. The vote of a 100-year-old and the vote of an 18-year-old is the same. The vote of a rich man and the vote of a poor man is the same. Let them speak at the ballot.
Gatondo South Member of Parliament, words being as they are, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has encouraged the youth to prepare for voter registration as the exercise will kick off immediately new commissioners come into office.
We have many youth outside there who need to take their IDs so that they are ready when the platform is open for them to come and register.
And I'm convinced that immediately the commissioners are in place, registration of voters will be prompt.
Despite their large number, young people in Kenya have traditionally been excluded from political process. However, if the current developments are anything to go by, then the tides will significantly change come 2027. Mwigi William, TV 47.
The scramble for the Gen Z numbers, definitely a big discussion going forward, even as we anticipate the formation of the IEBC to facilitate registration of voters. But it would appear that one side of the political divide does not care about the Gen Z. The president was put into a corner by the same group. Are we certain that the president is not interested in that voting bloc?
Yeah, you know, Fred, we expect to have between 5 and 7 million new voters, primarily comprising the young people. When they stormed the National Assembly in protests of the 2024 finance bill, the Gen Z were touted to be one group. But luckily, let me tell you, with time, and because of our ethnic-based political structure, we have seen them now disintegrating into various political formations. I can tell you, for example, with confidence that the Orange Democratic Movement, which is my party, is targeting to have a special section so that we can recruit about 2 to 3 million of them joining ODM. We have seen some of them joining the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. And so, in a sense, politically speaking, this generation will be assimilated into existing political formations.
So the unified Gen Z revolution will be no more and people will just go back to the same
At the end of the day, Gen Z have now gone into their political formations. I can tell you that. Some of them are identifying openly with the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga. Some are identifying with the sitting president, William Ruto. Some are identifying with...
Based on the communities they come from?
Of course, that is the basis.
Yet they
so, there's no constituency, quote unquote, that they say is amorphous, is faceless, is politically unbiased. No. At the end of the day, they belong to political formations.
Monagakuya, do you agree with that? That the Gen Z revolution and the claim that they were tribeless and leaderless is no more? That they've quickly gone back to their tribal cocoons?
The settlement has some facts, but what I would like to say is that some of the leaders were compromised, and I have seen a very big battle on morning show at K24 with the two gentlemen who has been formerly in that particular Gen Z leadership. And they were very bitterly bashing each other on live media. One of the leaders seems to have been compromised and have joined Raila faction, and therefore, working with Raila, you are working with the government. And he was being called traitor by the colleague. And this tells you that some of them, out of the serious batch the government did for extrajudicial killing them, abducting them, torturing them for many days, they were instilled with fear. And some of them bought that fear. And they opted to to walk back and were somehow compromised. But there is over 70% of Gen Z who are intact and who will be tribalist and borderless. That percent will be at that cluster I have just explained, but I can tell you nationwide, 70% of that team will go one direction. Where it will matter is what direction they will take. Because as of now, there are those who feel that in fact the government is on the wrong way and the wrong direction. And therefore, their option is either to do for one of their own, which they have not identified for now, or either join the existing coalitions that will be in place.
All right. And during the elections of 2022, it was noted that a huge chunk of this youth vote actually did not cast their ballots. There's a lot of lethargy in the youth vote. If at all we agree with the two gentlemen that the Gen Z or the youth vote, even the new voters that have come will register, will simply fall back into the traditional political, tribal divisions, don't you think that that will further fuel the lethargy and voter apathy come 2027?
One, let me agree with you that most of these Gen Zs, they never participated actively in the political process in 2022. That one I can attest with when I invited them for bursary applications, and I happened to ask them, how many of you even have voters card? I was shocked. Out of about 4,000 of the university students who turned up, less than 500 actually had their voters card. So that's a clear indication. Most of them never voted. But because of the current situation and the push, the economic push, the economic challenges they are facing, I can tell you, unless the government deliberately denies them the opportunity to cast their vote or to apply for voters card, these people will vote. What I don't agree is that they are likely be absorbed in the existing political formations. If you look at people like Kasmuel, the guy was just an influencer. He was not their leader. If you talk of even morale, these are populists. They just want to be popular because they have some hidden political agenda. So in reality, when you see these influencers, you should not tie being an influencer as being a leader. Those are two separate entities that have asked to be evaluated at that point, or by taking them as separate. Because if you look at most of these Genesis, now they are quiet. They have their experts where they discuss issues, but they don't have any particular person who they can identify as their leader, because they have seen most of these individuals, they are driven by personal interest and more so personal greed, you know? And you see, that is why they were saying they were partless, because they know when you have someone who you say, this is our leader, this person could easily be compromised, and the whole thing will be quashed. So in principle, these people, many of them will vote. That is, if they are allowed to vote. Remember, we have an issue with IDs. Sometimes they say they have no papers. Now they have brought the issue of charging for the IDs so expensively, and also the expiry tag that has been attached to the IDs. You know, of course, the government wants to continue raising more revenue to sustain the issuance of IDs, but that will deny people who cannot afford. Right. So unless you do that, and you deny people by using money as a factor, because if you are poor Gen Z, definitely you'll prioritize food as opposed to acquiring an ID. Right. And that will deny a number of them that rightful chance to participate actively in the electoral process.
The Gen Z vote, definitely a big discussion going forward as we anticipate the formation of the IEBC. After the break, we'll be looking at these political formations, especially focusing on what's happening in government with the anticipated big announcement by Raila Odinga and the statements he's made after that. You're watching Morning Cafe. We'll be right back.
world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good.
After a loss at the African Union Commission and his subsequent return into the country, the former premier has put forth his bare minimums in order to continue his cooperation with President William Ruto's administration. Speaking in Kilifi Monday, the former Prime Minister asked government to fast-track implementation of issues raised in the report in efforts to ensure dignity, integrity and accountability.
Kiuchumi wananchi wanaumia. Hali ya maisha, gharama ya maisha imepanda, ushuru iko juu, kupani matibabu, hii mambo ya SHA bado haijafanya kazi sawa sawa. Wako na shida. Kwa upande mwingine pande ya ugatuzi shida hii ni kwamba pesa haiji ya kutosha hapa chini.
Asanteni sana. In a report published at the end of 2023, the National Dialogue Committee, which was co-chaired by Kikuyu MP Kimani Ichung'wah and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, suggested, among other things, creating the positions of Prime Minister and leader of official opposition.
Consultation yetu tumekubaliana kwamba ile mambo tulikuwa tunaendelea nayo ya NADCO reports na maneno mengine yote kama chama wakati tulikuwa tukipigania kwa azimio kwamba tumempa ruhusa baba aendelee nayo, sisi kama Kilifi County na tunaunga mkono wale wengine ambao tayari ashashauriana nao. The National Assembly's Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, however, rejected the proposal to create the office of the leader of official opposition late last year, arguing that such an amendment would alter the supremacy of the Constitution and the functions of Parliament. The demands by Odinga coming in the wake of reports of a looming coalition agreement with the ruling Kenya Kwanza. In the demands, Odinga is said to be asking for at least 16 principal secretary slots and more cabinet slots. The party initially was reported eyeing for Speaker Wetangula's position in the National Assembly.
Umeona hata huyu Speaker Wetangula amekaa hapa na yuko sure kama yeye ni speaker, wanamtishatisha kila wakati. Niseme nisiseme, nitoboe nisitoboe. Hata next week mimi nasikia Raila Odinga anakuja kujiunga na serikali. Na nasikia anataka kiti ya Prime Minister ambaye ni huyu Musalia Mudavadi. Hii maneno mpaka tukwambia rais, tafadhali usiguse hawa watu. Kiti ya hawa watu ni viti zetu. We must protect our community and respect the Luhya nation.
Odinga's move now complicating matters for the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, in the Kenya Kwanza government.
Kesho, President Ruto akiwa hapa, we will tell him also there's unfinished business for the country. But he is coming because Malulu Njendi was his friend. Our place as a nation.
In the bicameral house, the ODM party is said to have demanded for 5 powerful committees in both houses. Among them is the Budget Committee chaired by Kiharu MP Ndende Nyoro, as well as Finance Committee currently chaired by Kuria Kimani. The two committees tussled for both political divides. Trade and Cooperative Committee chaired by James Gakuya. Labour Committee chaired by Eric Mushangi Karemba. Constitution Implementation Oversight Committee chaired by Gathoni Wamushomba and Health Committee chaired by Dr. Robert Pukose. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Well, Manduku, when you were here last time, you predicted that ODM will be demanding for half what we know as nusu mkate kwa serikali. It would appear that's the same route they're taking. Are you saying now you're vindicated?
You know, I told you, and I gave a disclaimer, that I don't hold any position in the Orange Democratic Movement. And what I said was what we members are demanding for. And so I think the chicken are coming home to roost. And I said it here that we, as the Orange Democratic Movement members, will not settle for anything less than nusu mkate. We are not interested in the seat of the Speaker. We are comfortable with Speaker Moses Wetangula. We are not interested in the seat of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. We are very comfortable with Mr. Musalia Mudavadi. But we want to have 3 key cabinet secretaries so that we can feel that there's portfolio balance. We are happy with
more than what you already have.
We're happy with CS Treasury, excellent. We're happy with CS Energy, excellent. But we think that our deputy party leaders, Mr. Oparanya and Mr. Hassan Joho, should be reassigned significant portfolios. And so we are demanding, 1, either transport or interior, 2, CS health, and 3, CS agriculture. So that we can feel that this government is not just broad and based, but that we are part and parcel of this. Without that, we are not talking any business.
You've previously said you're not talking for the party, but you've listed and done so with so much confidence that these are your demands as ODM.
Yes.
The Ministry of Transport.
Or Interior.
Or Interior.
Yeah, one of them.
And coordination of government.
Correct.
Health.
Correct.
And agriculture.
Excellent.
The position of Prime Minister.
We are not interested in those.
Yet it is contained in the NADCO report, and that is what the Raila Odinga, the party leader, is saying.
If we get those 3, we are comfortable.
You will not go for Prime Minister.
We will not go for any of this.
So
why do you say
so on one hand, the party leader, your party leader, is saying that you're pushing for full implementation of the NADCO report.
The NADCO report will take time and may need constitutional changes, may face court battles, but these 3 are low-hanging fruits, which can be given tomorrow or this afternoon.
Bona Basil, what do you make of this demands, transport, interior, health, and agriculture? Did you see this coming? Is this the natural?
It's like inviting someone to your house, and now he demands he wants to sleep in your bedroom, and if possible also have your wife. That is exactly what this guy is asking for. Because when you tell the president to give you interior and to give you transport,
or
these are the heart of his government.
Either or.
Yes. And you see, the people who are there, they're his close friends. So basically, you're telling the guy, like, we want to control the government. And I think that is too much to ask. If I was to tell my brothers, if they indeed, because they said they are sending experts to join the government, so why don't they wait to see the expertise from the experts before they push for additional slots? But as it is now, they know, of course, without them, the president will not be able to govern properly. And that's why they are coming up with...
Does the president have a choice, really?
That's what I'm saying. It is like they are pushing him to the wall. And it is an unfortunate scenario, because if I was the president, definitely I'll know the moment I accepted these gentlemen, it is to imply that it is them now who are making him govern. And that's why don't even think the demand will end with those 3. Even if they are given those 3, trust me, they'll bring more demands.
All right.
So it is him now to either think, do I want to continue being pushed? The other time they'll come and say, we want your seat now. We are in charge.
One of the dailies earlier this week suggested that this could end up being a co-presidency with Raila Odinga controlling quite substantial and crucial dockets in cabinet and also key crucial committees in parliament. I've heard your name mentioned, Bwana Gakuya, in one of the stories. Do you agree that this could very well be a situation that is akin to a co-presidency?
Idimoni, I would like to be very clear. And what will happen is simple. The ODM fraternity has put two indicators that if you hear from the Secretary General, you hear a temperature of a disconnect to this marriage. If you hear to Nairobi, like Babu Owino, the youngest there, is completely against that line of manja or coalition. If you hear Orengo himself, he's still not very clear on it, even including Onyang. And therefore it tells you that there is a team of Junet and the like who are pushing Raila to formalize.
Bwana Manduku appears to be on that side.
On that side.
I'm not a party official.
But I can tell you for sure.
I'm not a party official.
Those two signals are also making the state alert that they are not sure, even if the team and try to control Raila, that they are sure 100% that Raila will end up with them at the tail end. Because William's political mathematics is purely to have a partner who will partner now and even to his re-election mathematics. And that answer, he may not get it lightly. I am sure that the team of intelligence are working on a very high gear. Just try to know whether there is a concrete, clear partnership that can alive in this. And before the president will pronounce the next order of what Raila will gain, because already the matter that has made Raila to achieve these positions in what we call leadership in parliament is purely the last court verdict that ruled that the speaker was wrong by the verdict of who is majority and who is. And to stop that clamor and noise in the floor of the house, there has to be a sacrifice. And the sacrifice, if they have agreed with the 5 positions, that's well and good. But I would say, to those who come from Mount Kenya region and who are headed by one majority leader, we will also carry the highest blame back home. If they will sit down and watch possessions taken away and going to benefit other regions, and they are the one who participated to fight for this government, it could not be there, then it shows they will be at least having some cases to answer to that region. And I can tell you, if you allow Raila to take the what we call budget committee in parliament, and he has still taken the treasury, what do you want to tell us? Because that combination is very, 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 very suspicious. And demand of those high positions, because they demanded even finance. Those 2 positions. And I think that the finance can be okay. But with the budget, I can tell you, we better even lose the majority. But at least we should get the budget committee. Right. Take into concern, what do you think the majority position answers or can earn to a region? Nothing, except that mightiness in the floor of the house. But in terms of gains, it cannot earn enough like what that particular other position can earn. And I want to finish by saying, Raila will benefit from the next batch of PSs. That one he will. He will also gain from many other various state appointments, including ambassadorials. But that does not mean that the head of state is not also a wise man. He cannot, at the end of the day, to keep leaning on Raila 100%, that he's sure that this partner is on. Goes the rest of the Kenya may also defy.
Yes. There must be some level of truth there politically, that the president has known Raila Odinga and his actions, what he did to Kanu, what he did to Mwai Kibaki. Definitely William Ruto is not just sitting pretty and saying, okay, fine, I'm going to cede 50% of my government and just hope that Raila will be my partner come 2027. Definitely he's also planning and having his own political machinations.
It is possible, but you know, we must look at Raila Odinga as a true patriot of this country. Through his liberation struggles, through his fight for democratic space, and through his fight for governance. What Raila Odinga and ODM is bringing into government is expertise and proper governance structures. The truth be said, upon formation of this government, the Kenya Kwanza government, it was a tribal-based government. When Raila Odinga gets these positions, he distributes them equally across the country. And let me tell you, the sole purpose of having a political party is to capture power and be in government where you can control resource allocation. Now, Raila Odinga has not orchestrated a civilian coup or has not done violence to access these positions. It is through negotiation on the table. And so it is a very constitutional option that he has followed to ensure that he's on the table. And why is he on the table? Because he loves this country and because he wants to distribute this.
But also making others casualty.
All over. There's only one casualty.
No.
There's only one casualty.
No, you cannot say that.
Gachagua.
You cannot say that Raila is so superior that when actually he has gained alone. He has gained with his mass. And the other casualty also loses with his mass.
You know, the other day I learned a new vocabulary. That my brother here, MP for Yatta, is now from Mount Kenya South. I didn't know that Mount Kenya has south, north.
All right.
No, the south is.
And east.
Let's look at ODM's action and what they're demanding for. Do you get the feeling that ODM appears very much ready and willing to carry the burden for this government? I'm looking at the front page of Taifa Leo. Wasema chama cha ODM sasa chatetea bima ya SHIF licha ya kabiliwa na utata. It's the same thing Bwana Manduko saying. They're demanding for the
Ministry of Health.
Ministry of Health. Look at the budget making process that has been so problematic for William Ruto. Now they already have Treasury. They're demanding for the Budget Committee, Trade Committee, Finance Committee. Do you see a risk there?
You know, you should ask my brother, what is the motivation? Why would you demand for where the money is? Why would you demand where the budget is? Why would you demand where roads are? These are the lucrative slots that are associated with the money. So the agenda is to make as much money as possible to prepare for 2027. That is the idea behind that. And if President Ruto is not smart enough, these guys will get in, will live with the serious money, and in 2027, there'll be a thorn to deal with. Because remember now, with the group having good resources, they'll not even need to use their own money to do their campaigns. And that's why they're very strategic. They're asking for this and this. These are the core ministries. And as I said, we know for sure our budget is never itemized. So the ministry my brother is talking about, that's where a lot of money is slumped into. So the motivation is to have money, to make more money. It's not just because they want to. And that's why
there could also be an opportunity if they come in and make sure that the SHIF and SHA work.
Look at the SHIF and SHA. The other day, the Auditor General said the SHIF and SHA is not even controlled by government. So it means whoever goes there will go to deals with the people who are managing SHIF and SHA. They don't care whether it works or it doesn't work. Myself, as people's representative, I've got so many complaints from my constituents telling me we go to private hospitals, we are shown the door. They say either you bring cash or you go. So, and having such a mechanism that is not working, which everyone knows, and here you vehemently say this thing is working, then it means, one, you are not honest. Two, there's something which is motivating you that lies under the whole process or the whole system. You know, if you ask yourself, who is managing the system, you know, the IT system of SHIF and SHA? It's not the government. It is someone behind. And we are talking of billions of money that are poured into that SHIF and SHA. Even what people used to contribute in NHIF was never transferred to Shiv and Shah. So the money that Kenyans were paying as premiums disappeared.
Right.
I put that question in Parliament and they have thrown away my question, you know. The other day I heard someone say that answer was given. It's that was unfortunate I was in a committee that particular time. So when I came, now I have to reintroduce my question again. Because many Kenyans want to know what happened with their contribution to NHIF. You are now compelled to contribute afresh to a system that is not honored by hospitals. So the whole thing, to me, I don't mince my words to say it's a scam.
All right. But Gakuya, you must admit that some of the failures of this government, even your side of UDA, take the blame. That failure of Shiv and Shah, you're part of it. The budget-making process that was so problematic leading to the Gen Z revolution last year, you were part of it. If ODM come in and they manage to stay the ship and they manage to actually make things work, it could be an indictment on your part that you, who are heading these crucial committees of parliament, were not able to do something that ODM has done.
One, I totally want to differ with you. And I would still put it very clear that if there are issues in areas of that serious concern of how the changes, if there is a problem, that's not a parliamentary problem. Because the committee in the House, including the House in general, has not at any time seated on any policy that it was required to have an approval by the House to make sure that the rollout of this particular project actually achieve anything that actually required by the approval of the House. If the failure is management and the manner in which the implementation was made, that is purely executive problem. And therefore, where I can cite some problem is on at the side of what we call oversight, where probably that committee had some information which they never let the House to know. And that does not mean ODM is not represented in that health committee, because every committee is in a mix of the minority and majority. Mm-hmm. So their voice, or either from the committee or outside, no single member has such a mandate to speak out anytime, any moment. And those members of the ODM who are in that committee could have come out and exposed any racket that they think that actually has put this particular program to such a drastic position it is. And there is no, and then you cannot tell me that ODM will have magic to come to do. They will just have the mantle of the chair, but the chair does not have explicit or plenary powers to make decisions on behalf of the committee. It is the committee which decides.
Okay. What gives you so much confidence? What gives ODM so much confidence when we hear the chairperson talking about Shiv being a good plan, yet for almost 5 months after its launch, Kenyans continue to suffer?
Fred, you know, as a party, we are optimistic and we have the ability and the expertise to help this government achieve its intended dreams, which were derailed by political machinations from the onset. And so because we know that we can fix this, that is where we are confident that given the opportunity and these portfolios that we are demanding for, we shall put things right. Don't forget that the health sector enjoyed its best moments when an ODM member, who is now currently the governor of Kisumu, Professor Nyang' Nyong'o, was minister. Our best transformation in the energy sector, if you remember, was when our party leader was Minister of Energy.
Sorry to interject, but I would also want to
these people
to tell the member that actually we have the best brain in health area, who is Nikaro, the proposed, who is a former PS and a former doctor, and actually he's the proposed candidate to take the mantle.
An ODM
but
member.
he sits in that committee. So that energy, those minds, he would have helped the operation.
You see, committee work is oversight. The problem we've had is in this government, and I've always said it, even on this show, is lack of competent expertise. Committee work is oversight. Now, if Nikal were to be given this docket, then he would do what we call implementation.
So you do agree that it's actually James Nikal who set for that?
No, he's not the one. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying he's an ODM member. You know, the good thing about Gakuya is giving examples of our membership. And so we are proud of that. So we are giving expertise to this government to help it for the next 2.5 years so that our people in Kenya can enjoy the many experts we have in ODM.
All right.
Look at our
I have a minute each for your parting shots. Yes.
Then when they are not in the kitchen, then that food cannot be...
Parting shots, do we expect that announcement from Raila?
Parting shots, I'll not talk about politics. I'll talk about our wheat farmers. I think it is incumbent upon the Ministry of Agriculture to urgently address the issue of buying the wheat from our farmers in Narok. This will give encouragement and will also ensure that we have sustainable food supply in this country. It is very sad that we allow for import of wheat, which in return has made our wheat farmers lack a market. So as a matter of priority, I ask the government to set aside funds and buy all this wheat so that our farmers can be given resources to go back and plant.
Right.
And that should apply to all other crops, including maize, potatoes, rice, and everything. Thank you.
And indeed, that headline is on page 1 of the Daily Nation. 124 billion shilling wheat imports sink farmers into losses. Parting shot,
Personally, I'll say I think Kenya comes first. And let's not politicize everything. When we have new programs like Shiv and Shah which are not working, it's good to be honest to ourselves. Because the moment we allow politics to take precedence and ignore the wishes of many Kenyans who are suffering, then we are not being patriotic. So it's a high time for the government to relook into this matter and all what was being done, the flaws of NHIF, be reviewed, and if possible, let's get back to NHIF and revitalize it, rather than bringing a new system which is not working and which is making many Kenyans lose their money. So that's so unfortunate.
Me, I just want to direct my statement to the head of state. And I just want to tell him, I am not equivalent to advise him. But as much as he will be heading to make new changes within his government, including those positions in the House and those other state appointments, he must also look forward and also check the mirror. That don't make sure that you have completely made opponents of your former friends because of new friends. Because there is tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much. James Gakuya, MP, Embakasi North, Daniel Manduku, MP, Nyaribari Masaba, and Basil Robert Ngui, MP, Yatta. Our panelists this morning has taken a look at the big headlines today. After the break, and in anticipation of the International Women's Day, we'll be having a different conversation. Safeguarding women's rights. That's the big discussion. Yes, Gloria Madegwa, head of Programs Defenders Coalition, and Faith Goko, executive director, Healing Hearts CBO, will be in studio. They're already in studio, actually, and they're ready for that sit down with my colleague, Anne Odida. So over to you, Anne. From my end, my name is Freddie Ndimuli. Good morning.